Hi, sorry if you see me sweating today. It's only 22 degrees in the UK, but in our conservatory, which I've turned into our recording studio, it's about 30 with no air conditioning. So I'm trying not to look very sweaty like I've just done a marathon or had really fun times. I'm here to talk about Netflix's new movie that feels like a movie we've seen before, because there's a lot of times in Hollywood or the zeitgeist of filmmaking, we get one film, then we get another very similar, like Armageddon and Deep Impact, like Dante's Peak and Volcano.
Please stay calm.
We recently had the J-Lo film called The Mother.
Here and you do everything I say.
Now we have a Polish film called Mother's Day. They both very familiar and similar in genre and storytelling. We have an ex-agent, a child that they need to stay away from to protect because of who they were and who they messed with in their time as an agent, and then obviously their person that they love that they've had to stay away from gets roped into the world that they thought they were out of. Just when they were out of it, they get pulled back into it again, and that's kind of the story, except this time round it's Polish. So is it worth your while? Let's talk about it. So first off, I'm going to say I enjoyed this more than the J-Lo one. The J-Lo one, I had high expectations. I should have not had high expectations for them. It's fine. It wasn't absolutely awful. It was possible. It was just like, yeah, okay. This one I do feel is a little better than that, but just slightly. That's mostly because it has this grit in it. The score, the music, the way it's shot, the way it looks, all very dirty. The music is how, in my mind, I was like, how do I describe this music? Even though there are synth tones, but the whole time my mind was saying, yeah, this is dirty music in underground sort of bollards, you know, underground car parking spaces, beautifully lit to create that atmosphere, you know, the green and gray tones. That is all going on here, and the cinematography is spectacular. It's specifically made obviously for that tone that they were going for. And then we have those action scenes, which I think most will be going in here for, because you know what the storyline is. You've seen it done many times and probably a lot better. For me, like similar to these, you have the John Wick,
The Nobody?
and the Nobody films, and those are great. Here I was looking for something different, and it is. It feels different because of the way it's shot, how the tempo of the music and the action kind of complement each other. There are moments of this film that stand out above some of the others that we've had that weren't great, like the J-Lo one. And so when they were creative, they were very creative. There's some great, I guess, martial arts sequences with things that you would use around the room to take out the guy that you're currently fighting. It reminded me of things like The Raid, which I love the Raid films, and so I wouldn't say it's as good as those, but I do think it's well, creative is probably the word. So it's a dirty, creative action film. Unfortunately, it cuts a lot. There's a lot of fast cutting, so I really wanted them just to kind of stay on a wide and let me see the choreograph they've created. Unfortunately, when they do that, some of the hits and the choreography that you're seeing our main protagonist hit and connect with feels like she's pulling her punches, or feels like stunt guys are telegraphing their hooks and their kicks and their attacks. It just doesn't have that oomph that I was expecting. When you watch a John Wick sequence, you feel the oomph and the hits and the breaks. That's not to say that this was always the case, but there's a lot more of it that stood out to me, going, I don't quite believe her doing that move because it didn't feel real. And when they cut a lot, it makes me going, did you actually do that? Because you've cut so much. However, for every bit that I was going, yeah, I didn't feel that was right or real, there was another very creative action sequence. One sticks out into mind where it's following our protagonist taking on a number of guys in the kitchen with different utensils. She's using a pan and a small knife, and she's going left to right to the table, and the camera kind of goes left to right, kind of follows her but quite close, so you kind of see what's going on, but it's not as frenetic and messed up as, say, a Transformers movie. So you're still enjoying it and you're getting the idea of everything. I just really wanted a lot more wide scenes. I wanted to see what they were able to do, although I did felt like they were cheating it on purpose because they didn't quite have the choreography there, or didn't have the time to spend more time on choreography. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what it felt like when I was watching it. So I was a little bit like, I just wish there was a little bit more like the Raid movies. If I were to compare it, there were some bits like the Raid, there was some bits like Hannah, And both those films I love, so it's connecting with those. But then it has a nice atmosphere and different cultural perspective, because we have that gritty, nuanced storytelling from Poland. And when it comes to the actors, I think they're fine. Some of them are over the top like they need to be. Some of them are silly and stupid. There was one moment at the beginning of the film where I didn't know if the editor or the director knew what they were trying to do with the story they were telling. Because our protagonist is fighting a bunch of guys on the street, and as she's about to start fighting again, it comes up with the words literally on screen, final round or final fight, and it sounds like the guy from Mortal Kombat, you know, like round 2 or fatality, all of that stuff. And it just felt like it was taking me out and doing something like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and then they went all serious again. I was like, you need to commit to a genre. It is high octane action with a bit of silliness, but it does take itself seriously a lot. So it felt like it didn't know which route it wanted to go down. I think the protagonist is fine. They don't give her a lot of emotion. She doesn't show a lot of, she's a very stoic, stone cold killer, which I guess makes sense. You see her have some emotion, but I just wanted a little bit more from her. There are other emotional characters that have very stoic faces. I think about Leon. You get the feelings that he's going through, but you still get all the emotion with that.
You mean you're a hitman? Cool.
So I thoroughly enjoyed this film, but not as much as some of the others. It's definitely kind of midway. So I'm going to give it 3 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
And you got one. Congratulations.
Above the midway point, but not that much. So it's a one-time watch. I don't know if I'd ever come back to it. Thanks so much for watching. Look out for my other new reviews that's on there. I'm going to be talking about American-born Chinese, and we have a bunch of other animated series reviews that's just dropped on my channel as well. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.